Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Gilda Evans, bringing you the Autism Resource Podcast. This podcast and the ARP website are your one stop knowledge and resource base for autism and much more. I'm pleased to have Shellee Howard join me as my guest today. Shellee is the founder and CEO of College Ready and a certified independent college strategist who helps families navigate the college admissions process with a proven, personalized approach. A best-selling author and global speaker, she specializes in helping students gain admission to top-tier schools and graduate debt-free. With real-world experience as a mother of 4 college graduates, she empowers students to build standout strategies for academic, financial, and personal success. Welcome, Shellee, and thank you so much for taking time to join me and discuss the work that you do.
Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to giving your listeners a ton of value.
So, to get us started, you say that getting into college is about standing out. Beyond academics, what are some unique ways that students, including those who are neurodivergent, can set themselves apart in their applications?
So, I always talk about the application process as a personal mission. Not everybody does it the same way. So, neurodivergent or challenged or straight A student, it doesn't matter. What needs to happen is the student needs to focus on their gifts, their talents, their advocacy, the things that truly set them apart. Because colleges are really looking not for the perfect person, they're looking for the genuine person, who they are, what matters to them, what have they done to prove it. So, regardless of what type of child you have, it is really important that you stay focused on them and not the thing called college. So, the standout strategy is a mystery to many, but I'm going to simplify it for your listeners. College is a business. They are looking for students to come and make their school amazing, graduate within 4 years or less, put the diploma on their wall, and start promoting their school. That doesn't mean any specific kind of student. And so, how do we help them stand out? Somebody will have the same GPA, higher and lower, same test score, higher and lower. How will they choose? If you and we were competing for the same university, 2 unique human beings, we had the same GPA and the same test score, how would they decide? That's the standout strategy. So it's based off the students' core values, their gifts, their talents, their advocacy, and what have they done to prove that? We'll dive in deeper, hopefully, as we talk through this, but I just want families to know it's not about the university. It's about helping your child get ready to adult and then be able to articulate who they are, what matters to them, and how they have proven it.
All right, that actually makes a lot of sense. So, then, based on what you've just said, can you share an example where a student's personal story made the difference, not just in acceptance, but in scholarship offers?
The story is the number one thing that will not only help get you in, but get you money. My firstborn, I can speak to, and his story is definitely what got him into 11 colleges, 7 full ride offers, and ended up going to Harvard completely for free.
Wow.
His story was one of unique ability in which only he possessed. He had led several things being voted in. He was freshman class president, sophomore class vice president, junior class president, and ASB president. So his story was one of leadership. And that is what allowed him to really stand out because that's his gift. He went from Harvard pre-med to UC San Diego Medical School to UCLA, and he is now graduating as an orthopedic surgeon. But what I think is important for families to understand is his strategy matched him. I have 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls, and so I can speak to many different challenges that each one of them had. And my second one, She had some challenges, super, super intelligent, had a hard time articulating what it was that she had accomplished. And so we had to really help her to figure out what that meant to her and also what it meant to the universities. So there's such a thing as test anxiety. We have to help colleges understand that is something that has been overcome or that they have learned from to make them a better person. So you can take anything and turn it into a positive situation if you can help that child articulate what they went through. Because to the teenager, it feels like a failure. What colleges look at is what did they do after that happened. They're not so concerned. Everybody fails. Nobody's perfect. They truly want to know, what did that student learn from that experience? How did they become a better person? These are the things that colleges are looking for. And so when students try to have this perfect application, it actually has a tendency to be too polished and not transparent. And so we want students and families to have a story that is uniquely theirs.
Okay. Do you have any particular stories you can share, again, without naming names, with regard to certain neurodivergent individuals that you have worked with and helped to create their story and be successful in the college application process?
I can do one better. If you want to set up a scenario, I can, off the cuff, tell you about a student who was very successful. We have helped a lot of neurodivergent students. And I would rather have you say, here's one, Shellee, tell me about a success story, than having just a canned one that I can speak to. Any thoughts in mind?
There are so many different stories because everyone is just so individual and so unique. But let's just say a student comes to you and has difficulty expressing themselves and has difficulty in very challenging or crowded environments and has a particular gift, let's say, in science and mathematics. And while they may have excelled in certain areas, they find challenges in other areas. And so they're trying to create a holistic version of themselves to present, to say, this is me, this is who I am. How can you help me get in?
So good. A student popped straight to mind, so I'm just going to go with it. I'm not going to say his name, but I had a student exactly that. You named him perfectly. I remember the first time I met with this family, he had a cat wrapped around his neck, like literally paws, and he was petting it. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. And his mom said, what in so many words, do you mind if the cat's here? And I'm like, no, I have no problem with the cat being here. And you could see that was a way that he was able to take some of his anxiety down by petting that cat. And so we started having a wonderful conversation about his cat. And he forgot completely what we were supposed to be talking about, which made him so anxious. So we leaned into that thing that really brought him joy. The other part I found really interesting with that young man is he was brilliant, like intellectually brilliant. And I asked him, I said, do you have an idea of what you might want to do? And he says, yes, I want to build the next rocket ship. I'm like, wow, now I've heard some dreams, but yes, that sounds incredible. And then I started asking him, what kind of rocket ship? Why would it be that? And you could see the relaxation and the joy that came from really talking about what was here. But when we talked about just stuff, he felt very guarded and felt he looked down. He had a hard time articulating those. And so his mom would support him. And I totally appreciated mom being right next to him. And I also gave him privilege to say, hey, if it's easier to put it in the chat, put it in the chat. So it's really helping that child, that teen, with getting clarity about what they are comfortable with and what they are not comfortable with. And so when we meet with those students and we lean into understanding first, and then, of course, we like to talk to the parents to make sure that we are not going to hit any hot spots. But usually parents are very honest and open about here's some things that will set them off or some things that will be uncomfortable. And we just really take it from a heart perspective. And we do with every student, neurodivergent or not, it's what do you want? And if they don't know, then we start talking about what they don't want because they do know that a lot easier.
Yes, very often that's true. Yeah.
So it is a lot of fun. And that young man actually went to Emory-Riddle and is in the aerospace engineering division. And he is just amazing. And so his mom keeps us up to date. But what a treat it was helping that family navigate.
And you mentioned put it in the chat. So I take it you help people all over the country. You
Oh,
do this virtually over Zoom or whatever video chat you use. And so you help people everywhere, right? Do people even come to you from other countries as well?
yes. So I was just named 2026 Global Educational Consultant of the Year because our program has been global now for 5 years. And so we can help students coming into the US as well as going out of the US. My fourth child, my stepdaughter, she actually went to school in the Czech Republic of Prague as a dual international US student. And we never thought that child was ever going to leave home, let alone go to another country on her own. But having set goals and helping her navigate that process, she grew into this very confident young lady. And absolutely, it was an amazing experience to watch her go from the baby of the family to the one who steps out into the world. And so the program is about the student. It's not about college. It's how can we help them adult? And if college is part of that, then so be it. We make that part of the process.
I think, first of all, I think that's terrific. But the other thing I wanted to mention is that a lot of families feel overwhelmed by the college admissions process, right? What is one practical step they can take, like right now, today, if they're about to embark on this process, to feel more comfortable and in control?
Like anything else, when you have a plan, it just feels better. So the number one thing is either you create a plan or hire somebody else to create you a plan because your high school has no plan. It doesn't matter if it's public, private, homeschool, no plan. And that is a really anxious place to be. It's like not planning for retirement and then at 75 figuring, how am I going to do this? How am I going to stop working? It's terrifying. So we want families to understand if you have a step-by-step plan. So my second best-selling book is called The College Admissions Plan Simplified. And I start with the foundation of the home, then the framework of the home, then putting the sides on the home. And so I reference, if you do this step by step, the overwhelm is very easy to get rid of. If you do it without a plan, you will stay in this cycle of overwhelm. And a lot of times the best way I can explain it is if you're on an airplane and the pilot says, we're on a very short runway, it's going to feel like we're taking off on a rocket ship. You hear them, but even though you take off and it feels like you're going straight up, your heart is beating terribly. Versus a very long runway and you're like, are we ever going to take off? This is so amazing. It's the same feeling. If you have a plan and a strategy, it's a step-by-step implementation. If you don't, it feels like you're just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hopefully it's going to stick. And so that you can either do yourself. My firstborn, I did this for. I went back to school, became a certified independent college strategist. Then I became a financial college strategist. And I've been helping families for 18 years do this, but it started with my own. And I was spending 35 hours a week on top of my full-time career. So it doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but it does mean anybody with the desire to do this can dig deep and figure it out.
Now, you mentioned the importance of starting early. I know that's something that's big with you, but what about families who feel like they're behind? What's the best way for them to catch up?
I would say 90% of families, when I talk to them daily, who haven't hired anybody, are feeling behind because if you ever go on social media, it just is terrifying. Nobody gets into college. Nobody can afford college. I have the perfect student. There's so much anxiety on social media. It's not that bad, I promise, parents. Really, it's not that bad. The sooner you start, the better. But guess what? If you haven't thought about it yet, now's the best time to start. What does that look like? It means that if you're starting as a junior, like most kids did back in the day when I went to college or planned for college, just know you've missed out on scholarships for many years. So if financial scholarships are important to your family, that's the first thing you're going to be disappointed by, but it's not too late. Up until the time you pick the right college, you still have an opportunity for scholarships. As soon as you pick the college and pay for it, you're locked in. It's like buying a home and then trying to figure out how you're going to pay for it. It doesn't work that way. And so the FAFSA looks at the second semester of the sophomore year and the first semester of the junior year. So ultimately, as long as you have your financial house in order by then, you're not too late. Even if you're after that, even if maybe your child woke up and said, I wasn't thinking college, but today I believe that's what I want to do. And now you're well into the junior or senior year, it can be done. We just move much quicker. There's still plenty of time. We have to hope that they're at a mature age that they can process it and do things with that information. The only time it's too late is after a student has been accepted and they have paid their down payment. At that point, it's too late.
Okay. Now, we're talking a lot about payments and scholarships and all of that right now. If you could leave parents with one mindset shift about paying for college, what would it be?
Most scholarships will not even look at how much you do or don't make. That's huge. Many families throw up their hands and say, we make too much money, we're not going to get a dime. That is simply not true. I can tell you story after story of full ride scholarships. My son had 7 full ride scholarships and I live in Southern California. I am not need-based because I couldn't live here if I was need-based. So it is all about what has your student done to prove they're going to be successful in high school. Remember, think about it this, families. If you own a business and I come to you and I say, I really want to work for you. And you will say, can I see your resume? And I say, I've been at the beach with my friends. I haven't had much time to work on it. I'm busy. And you're going to say, I'm sorry, there's really not a job for you. Now, child number 2 comes to you and says, I really want to work for you. And I have 4 pages. I tried to narrow it down, but I've been working really hard. And you say, can I see them? And they say, yes, I can do your job. You can go on vacation and I've got this. Will you come up with more money to woo that applicant in? Absolutely. Same thing happens with colleges. If a student hasn't done much, there isn't much money for scholarships. If a student has done some amazing things or even some good things, there's a scholarship right now for $10,000 a year if you're a vegan. You've done nothing.
Well,
I want families to realize it's not about your income. It's about, that's one thing of one small part of applications. But there's merit-based. A student has great grades. That's a merit scholarship. There's independent scholarships like $10,000 if you're a vegan or $25,000 for the Nordstrom scholarship. There are lots and lots of money. Then there's also money in organizations around your community, your school, Rotary Club, so on and so forth. There is more money that can ever be given away. And most of the time, it's not given away and they carry it on to the next year. The problem is, if families don't go looking for it, it's not going to come looking for them. That's where the disconnect comes in. So the mindset shift is you need to go understand and look for the scholarships if that is important to you, or hire somebody who understands how to work that strategy like College Ready does. Our team is about test strategy, about application strategy, about community service and leadership strategy. There's 7 parts of an application. That's 7 different opportunities to earn scholarships. So if you only excel at a couple of them, there's hundreds of scholarships for that. It really comes down to understanding, is that school a generous school? Is that school a stingy school? That could be huge. If your child wants to apply to a very stingy school, I would tell them, parents, are you comfortable paying the full tuition? If they say no, then you don't apply there. Versus another school where I know for a fact I've had many students get a full ride offer there with the same GPA that the child has, I would say this is a great opportunity for this major, for this GPA, to get a ton of scholarships. That's the beauty. Think of it like tax code. You could do your own bookkeeping and your own tax filing, or you hire some person who knows all of that to save you all kinds of money. That's the same strategy we do. I've read the FAFSA 4 times, and you could. If this is important to you, read the FAFSA. It tells you exactly where they look and exactly where they don't look, and that's just the starting point. But at least you'll have a really good idea of where to start.
All right. Speaking about money and affording things now, I know you mentioned Southern California. There actually are a lot of people there and everywhere who are need-based and who may be excellent students and very bright and very capable, but who could never afford to pay a college tuition on their own. What about paying for your service? What if this is a family with a very wonderful qualified applicant, but they have an issue paying? How do families afford your service if they come to you?
So the first thing I like to help families understand is what do they want and what can they afford? Our starting package, our starting plan is $27 a month. If a family can't afford that, then I will gift them that opportunity. I have 2 best-selling books that I will gift them if they can't afford $5. So truly, there's no reason not to have free resources, at least for me. And so I think it's important to understand. The other thing I want to encourage families is if you do have that student and they can get into a school based on their intellect, all of the Ivies, or most, not all, 75% of them, if you can academically get accepted, they will pay. If your family makes under $200,000, they will pay for everything: tuition, housing, every single expense. So again, I want families to really think about, can they not afford college, or is it just they don't know what they need to do? There's 10 colleges that are tuition free. You don't have to pay a cent. You do have to work in place of tuition. Again, is it terrible? No, I don't know anything you don't have to work for to get something for. And so if you truly don't have a cent to put towards this, then I would encourage you to get my first best-selling book with a list of 10 places that are completely tuition free. And those are wonderful opportunities. If they're gifted academically, go for the Ivies, go big and have them pay for the education. That's what I would be recommending.
All right. This has been a lot of really terrific information, Shellee. And at this point, I'm going to say, is there anything I haven't asked you that you would like to mention to our listeners?
I think it's really important for families to understand your child has no idea how to do any of this. They are not getting any support at their high school. It doesn't matter if it's boarding school, public school, private school. And so if the expectation is for them to navigate this, I want you to think about, do they even know how much it costs to pay for electricity or gas in a car? They're not ready for this. They need you. As a free gift, I'm going to gift you a complimentary discovery call if you go to www.collegereadyplan.info, info. That will give you the best opportunity where I can speak directly to your family situation and give you exactly the recommendation. There's no pressure. It's my service to my community to offer these at complimentary. So thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with your audience.
And thank you so much, Shellee, for your time and for sharing your story with us today. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to the podcast. You can find it on Apple iTunes, Amazon Music, Spotify, and other popular platforms. We'd appreciate you taking the time to leave us a review. You can also listen to the podcast on YouTube at ARP Social, where you'll find bonus content. And be sure to follow us on Facebook or Instagram to get up-to-date notifications about the latest news and episodes. If you would like more information on anything else we've covered on the Autism Resource Podcast, visit us online at autismresourceproject.org/podcast. Be sure to check out our growing website often, since we are continually adding useful information and resources. I want to thank our listeners for spending part of their day with us. This is the Autism Resource Podcast, and I'm Gilda Evans, reminding you to take care of yourself and that special person in your life.